Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Virgo. If Virgo is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so, Virgo, I want to say happy Virgo season. Happy birthday. If it has landed on this day, happy birthday. If you have already passed, I had mine just the other day as a fellow Virgo. And if your birthday is coming up, super duper happy birthday to you as well. And so, our card tonight is the Four of Cups, which has everything to do with luxury. Absolutely. And not too shabby, right? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look and see what are these tea leaves going to tell us. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Also, if you would like to hit the little like button or leave a comment, I would love to hear from you, especially if you're new to the channel. Definitely shout that out in the comment section. All right. So it looks like we have the Green Man. You can see this kind of up here. If you are not familiar with the Green Man, this is often depicted as a face that is made of leaves. Kind of, you could imagine if you were standing somewhere, looking out at the tree line, well, come with me, yes. We're standing out in a meadow, we're up maybe kind of on a little hill, and we're looking out and everything looks beautiful and idyllic and green, and there are trees kind of lining the area very close together, all bushed out and beautiful, and you look over and see suddenly a face, right? Right there, right? Kind of, is it in the trees or is it kind of made of the trees, right? All of them kind of overlapping in the leaves, and you think, am I just seeing something my mind is putting together, or is this somebody standing out there? Is there somebody kind of looking at me through the little gap there in the tree line? And this is the feeling that I get when I see the Green Man. This is kind of a wilderness deity archetype. And so as I'm looking at this, it really gives me a feeling of being watched. Not so much being watched over, but being, watched by the unknown, something unknown. But you're acutely aware, right? It's like that feeling when you're in a crowded room, right? And all of a sudden you're standing there, you're chit-chatting, it's kind of loud, there's a lot of conversation going on, and you feel somebody looking at you. You know, and you might not even register it as that, but you feel something, and you turn and you look over your shoulder, and way across the room between, there's 10 people between you. You look and you see somebody is looking at you, staring at you, and you might know them and you might not know them, but you're aware without realizing you're not in their they're not in your line of sight. So how do we know that something is watching us, right? We have that feeling, it's instinctual. And so I'm curious as to what is this and where is this manifesting in your life? Is this in the physical world as you go about your day? Do you worry? Is there somebody following me? Is there somebody You know, maybe like an ex or an old friend, or you know, I don't even know. Maybe it's the insurance, right? Watching you, or like a PI, or, you know, maybe just kind of an idle neighbor, you know, keeping tabs on everybody, their comings and goings. But there is a feeling of being observed, right? And, well, you know, I'm a bit maybe of a, not maybe, I'm a bit of a paranoid person. Yes, I'm overly vigilant. But, right, I do think that when we get this feeling, especially if we think it might be in our physical world, right? But this also applies to the psychic realms as well. And when we get this feeling, I will always say better safe than sorry, right? Check all of your security measures. And, you know, if that's something very involved, or if it's merely making sure your doors are locked, that you are parking your car, you know, and I lived in in apartments most of my adult life. So I was, you know, as a woman who was living by herself a lot of the time, very aware, right, of where we park. Is there light? Am I going to come home at, you know, 11 o'clock at night and then have to walk across a dark parking garage or parking lot? Now, this is true of everybody. It's not just women. Now, I identify as a woman, so I've lived as a woman, and, you know, these are things that are instilled in us, hopefully. Watch out for yourself, but really it's for everybody. We all must be aware of our surroundings. And so I think that, you know, when we have this feeling, it is that maybe it is happening, right? And I hope that you listen to your intuition, but even if it's not, it's important for us to kind of go over, thinking about, am I locking my windows? Am I checking in with somebody when I get home? You know, even if it's social media, just, I don't know. I like to know when my people leave, you know, leave my house. Did you get home okay? You know, did you make it home from work okay? My poor daughter, she's going to be so annoyed with me when she's old enough to be out in the world by herself. I'm going to be, you know, text me, let me know. You're 45 years old. I still want to know where you're at. But this also could be that you are experiencing some kind of spiritual entity that could be like a transient spirit, right? And if you don't know what this means, it's kind of this idea of like we go out in the world, we go traveling in our dreams, in our interior spaces, and something that is not really, you know, of us necessarily, not in the most direct way anyways, it finds attachment to us. It kind of clings on, it follows us home. And you know, you might not really perceive it for a while, but you start to feel something going on. And so I feel like, yes, also spiritual cleansing of the home. You know, if you've ever watched my readings, I'm always talking about opening your windows if you are able, letting fresh air in, circulating the air. Don't let it get stagnant in there. This is both symbolic, opening and bringing in fresh air, but it also is that if you have ever walked into a home that has had all the windows shut and the curtains are drawn, and it's been like that, and people are living in there for days and weeks and months, and there's no you know, circulation happening, it becomes quite stale. There's almost you know, a heavy oppressive feeling happening there. It is stagnant, right? And, you know, we as people, as human beings, as animals, we know that when something is stagnant and stale and caught up and not moving, it's likely that, yeah, right, it becomes a place, a breeding ground for sickness, right? And so it's like you wouldn't drink out of a puddle that's, you know, full of algae and it's just sitting there, you know, not moving. There's no, it's not, this water is going to make you sick, right? So doing all of these things from the bottom to the top, and you might think, oh, this is too much. It's a lot, Lenor. Well, you know, I think it's worth every once in a while kind of, you know, maintaining the security of our life. And, you know, and maybe that's somebody telling you that here, myself, that's a little paranoid about these things, but the world we live in, you know, it is chaotic. You never know. You just never know. And I'm not saying anything bad is happening, but I just get this feeling of being kind of, you know, observed. And it doesn't feel good. It's not like, oh, they're looking at me and I'm going to kind of like, you know, present my best self. No, it's like, what is that feeling? I feel like something is watching me here, right? And now we also have a little dragon down here. Okay, so we have the dragon. We're in the year of the dragon. That's really kind of where my mind goes whenever I'm seeing these dragons. So I'm guessing that this is going to kind of play out over the next few months as we kind of wrap up this year. And I can't believe we're already saying this. The year going by so quickly. And now we also have the Empress. And you can see the head up here sitting enthroned on, you know, an elevated chair and in a position of power, but also intuition. The Empress is one of growth and life bringing, but also one that can perceive and walk through that darker side, that night side. If you can think of the goddess Persephone or Kor, this is, or is Demeter Kor? I always mix them. No, it is Persephone. And this is the goddess that is abducted, right, by Hades. And Hades is the ruler of the underworld, and he kind of, you know, well, he takes her. And her mother, Demeter, right, who is a harvest goddess, you know, goes after and says, nah, you're not taking my daughter. And so they come to this compromise that Persephone will go to the underworld for half the year, and then she will return in spring. And when she arrives, you know, the sun comes with her, and things start to warm up, and you know, everything starts to grow, and it comes to this point of great beauty and abundance. But she's also, now you might think, okay, so she's been stolen away down to the underworld, and yeah, that was traumatic, definitely, and something that she did not want, right? But she made efforts to you know, make it work for her under dire circumstances ultimately. But she ends up being the queen of the underworld, right? And it really embracing that role. So we have this like stark duality, one who can dwell in dark places, one who can navigate those kind of subterranean corridors of the mind, the shadow, and at the same time be able to show up, bring the sun with her, and get them things growing, right? And so the Empress to me is very much in this energy. There is a sense of being quite in touch with those interior faculties, the abilities, the techniques, but also, right? Being able to manifest them in the physical world, right? To use your intention to create the environment that you so want. And knowing that, listen, anything that's alive is not blooming all the time, right? There are seasons, and understanding the seasons, understanding the ebb and flow of life, which, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit biased as I am a Virgo, but I feel like us Virgos are pretty dang good at navigating the ups and downs, the, you know, those dark, long months where our soils, and I say our soils because we are the, Virgo is related to the earth element, okay? And so our soils must also hibernate, right? They must go through the cycle of things deteriorating, sinking into them, and nourishing them, and resting. And then when, you know, the ground thaws out and it's ready to be planted, then it is full of the nourishing things that it needs so that it can grow and grow things. It can support life. And so I'm looking at this and I feel that, you know, as you have gotten older and wiser and, you know, really embraced your role, whatever that is, mother, father, head of the family, you know, maybe the youngest sibling, or when you're the youngest sibling or the oldest, right? You always are that. But you know, whatever it is, I feel that you have really embraced these great roles of your life, and you've also really embraced the cycles. Right? You're really good at adapting to things. And so I look at this and I feel like in this next part of the year, there is going to be kind of some circumstances arising where you need to really employ these energies. And now I wonder if this kind of comes down to you I don't want to say it's necessarily taking care of somebody, like taking them into your home, or helping somebody who is ailing, or, you know, something like this. But I almost feel like there's also an education happening, or a mentorship. There's a fondness here that is not just like, this is my family and I love them and I'll do whatever for them. It feels like this is also about, I want to be a good role model. I want to have some kind of lasting impact here. I want to show up and kind of, you know, be a part of this person's journey. And this really is the energy of that, yes, Empress, leader, mother, you know, knower and doer. And I think this comes so naturally to you. You know, I mean, it does, but it's something that you've also had to develop through experience. And it might be that you've also had your own series of mentors, you know, you know, your parents, your grandparents, of course, hopefully anyways, were part of your life, but also other people in your journey who kind of have taken you under their wing. And so now it's your time. It's your time to kind of step up and do the same. Now, we have this bridge over here, and I'm looking at it this way. So we have a person standing here. It looks like they're also holding the goddess right here. This is like a goddess figure. And over here, it looks like we have a goose who's kind of turning around and almost feels like squawking. And I feel like immediately my thought about this was learning to kind of get over other people's opinions of situations or their tendency to gossip. Where, you know, I think that it really does affect us deeply as Virgos. When we know somebody is kind of dragging our name around or telling our business, I think that's something that it just really does not sit well with with a Virgo. And I feel like this is kind of the situation where it's like usually you're fairly guarded about your private stuff, and for whatever happened here, it feels like somebody got a little bit of information, and maybe this is at work, maybe within the family, but it does feel like this. I really want to snap here, and that's really what it is. I really want to snap here, but I'm going to catch myself, right? I'm going to kind of reel it in, and that's really that holding on to the goddess, remembering who you are, remembering what you're capable of, and remembering that refrain is often the greatest act of strength that we can do, right? So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to look at our Oracle of the Radiant Sun, and I want to see kind of where does this lead, right? Where do these things kind of lead up to? Because we have the Four of Cups, so there is a sense of abundance and luxury and a lot, right? But we also have these kind of underlying, it almost feels like little streams of discord, at least in the ease, right? Where you have luxury, you have created an abundance for yourself, and you should be able to just kind of like enjoy that, sit back and really indulge in it a little bit. But then there's this kind of like, it just feels like a fog, you know, not right in the center where you are, but out there on the outskirts. And to look at it, you wonder what's in there. What is this thing lingering around on the edges of my life, right? And that's unsettling. And so I'm going to look, we're going to see if we can get some kind of jump over. Okay, so we have caution. So immediately, that's the feeling. It is. It's like I said, that feeling of being watched. And you go into that kind of stop and look around and, okay, what's going on? What is happening here? Okay, and then we're going to do two more. Okay, so we have practicality and optimism. Okay, so I feel like, yeah, it's like your spidey senses have been set off, okay? So you're in that caution zone. But I feel like this maybe is pretty distractive, and you know this, right? You could go down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out what's going on, being the ultimate detective. I always say it's us Virgos and Aries. Aries is the other big detective, right? If you want to find out something about somebody, go to an Aries, because they will get on the internet. They will hunt that person down. They'll find everything out, right? Virgo, similar, very similar. We're really good at reading people. We're really good at kind of collecting little tidbits that stand out to us. Like if you could think of in, you know, poker, right? They have this thing where they say, oh, you have a tell. And what that means is somebody might have like a mannerism, or they might say something in a certain way, or they have a little bit of a tick, or whatever it is, right? Like somebody who always smiles when they're lying, Have you ever seen somebody, like kids do this too, but like there's a face you can see, you're looking at their face and what they're telling you doesn't match up with the way that their face is resting, right? And they're smiling. And you're like, I know that what you're saying to me does not connect to what you're feeling or thinking, right? And that would be a tell. So us Virgos, we're really good at seeing these kinds of things, the little fine details of a situation. My husband and I, shout out to Dove and Serpent Tarot, my husband Paul, will often have completely different perceptions of a person, the way that we interacted with them, you know, whatever. And we just notice different things. And for me, often, it's like the way that they say something, it's the way that they're holding their body, they're standing, you know, their body language, you know, whatever. And for him, it's completely different. You know, he's not necessarily paying attention to those things as much. And so we have different experiences, you know, and so I'm feeling like, you know, you could go down this rabbit hole, you could go searching for, you know, days and weeks and months to figure out what is this thing that's happening, which will present itself, by the way. I think it really will kind of end up emerging where you can see it quite clearly. But I think in the practical part of your brain, which is a big one for us Virgos, is that this is wasting time. This is actually taking away from my life right now. If I spend my entire, you know, whatever free time I have kind of investigating, I am losing out on a lot of little things and big things that I want to do with my time, right? We know this happens when, you know, we get into the time suck of like social media or video games, or, you know, I'm trying to think of the big ones where it's like you start something and next thing you know, it's like 3 hours later, you're like, where did that time go, you know? So I think in the practical way, there's really this kind of pull towards, okay, I acknowledge something is a little off, something feels a little weird, but it's taking away from indulging this feeling is taking away from my routine. So I have to balance myself. I have to allot myself a certain amount of time or just kind of shut it off, right? I'm not going to like indulge this feeling. I'm going to go the other way. And optimism, I feel like maybe, you know, if you're like me, I might read into something, I might really feel like I'm figuring out what the heck was going on, what was this interaction, what the heck is this person doing, and then I have to also tell myself, if it's something that I find or perceive to be, you know, maybe a threat or something that will be disruptive to me, or, you know, or somebody who's just being rude or whatever it was, I want to give the situation a little bit of, well, maybe it was a hard day for them, maybe they had a lot of stuff going on, maybe it had nothing to do with me, I'm just, you know, kind of, we're like, you know, just bumping up against each other on the path of our day of our life, and I just caught this person at the wrong time, or, you know, whatever it is. And that kind of, to me, is an optimism that unbinds me from the anxiety that I might be feeling otherwise, you know. It's been a wild ride for me in the last couple of years, having my daughter and then her being involved with like different classes and, you know, school, and so for me, I'm out there interacting with people who I usually probably would never have any interactions with, a lot of moms and parents and teachers and things. And, you know, that leaves a lot of room for miscommunication or misunderstanding something, or, you know, just kind of meeting people in moments where they're super stressed out and they might be kind of quick or short with you or whatever. And for us, Virgos, the overthinkers, that can be really devastating to our day. Like, what? I wonder why she was rude to me this time, or I wonder why she didn't say hi, or, you know, whatever it is. And you add that little bit of, well, maybe the kids were screaming in the car and, you know, they're running late for work, or, you know, whatever it is. And there is that dash of optimism, giving people a little bit of grace, giving yourself a little bit of grace, right? I also want to say, though, if, like I said at the beginning, if there's something weird going on, right, and you feel it, don't dismiss your feelings. But maybe we do temper ourselves a little bit before we completely spiral into, you know, our conspiracy theories and things. Which I feel like I could write a book of conspiracies. Just the interactions and the little things going on in life. Just always looking for that deeper, you know, larger connection. All right, so it looks like we have a little bird leaving the nest. So it feels like maybe somebody is leaving. Maybe you have a child adult child who's moving out. Maybe they just went to college. Maybe they're getting married. Maybe it is that there is kind of a breakup going on. Maybe you are moving out, or but there is a feeling of leaving this kind of comfortable place where everything kind of was kind of set up the way you wanted, and it was going, you know, you had perfected this dynamic and the flow of things, and now there's something changing. And it kind of also looks like the bird's stepping back into the nest. So it's either they're leaving or they're returning. And it could be like, yeah, they went out there and now they need to come home because, you know, usually it's like financial reasons. But it could also be that where they left, you had to kind of reorient yourself and you know, kind of figure out, how am I going to live? You know, maybe you go from cooking for, you know, a family to, you know, your kids leave and you're cooking for yourself and possibly a spouse or a significant other. But maybe you don't even sit down and have dinners together every night anymore. So you're learning how to cook for less people or cook just for yourself. And at first you're still cooking these large dinners and, you know, having all these leftovers. And you start to acclimate, and yeah, you get good at kind of just making something little for yourself. And then all of a sudden they're back, right? They're like, oh, I got to move back in. And you got to readjust again. And so I feel like there's a switch in the dynamic in the domestic life there. Okay. And I don't think that that's anything that you are lamenting. It might even be something that you're really happy about. But it does seem like it is kind of important. It's at the core of things, right? So let's also take a look at our gratitude affirmation cards. And I'm just going to flip through. I'm going to stop where it feels right. Okay, Star Bright. I am grateful for the goals I have accomplished. Each success lifts my soul and fuels me to a new stratosphere. My gratitude for small wins propels me towards the stars. Practice. What is one goal you have accomplished recently? Celebrate your win and commit to taking time to celebrate when you succeed. Yes, get yourself a little treat. A little treat for your success. I like little treats. All right, Virgo, I'm going to tell you I love you because I do. And I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. Also, if you want to leave a comment, I would love to hear from you. I want to say thank you to everyone who gave me birthday wishes. You are wonderful. You're the best. It was a great, great birthday. You all made it very special. So thank you. And again, happy birthday to all of you Virgos out there. If you were an August birthday, if you're a September birthday, I love you. I hope you have a magnificent one. And we will talk again real soon. Good night.